Well, the sign says Dales Way 82 miles, but in fact that's not quite right, because the distance from here on the Packhorse Bridge at Ilkley to Bowness on Windermere is actually 78 miles. But I have to say that's a bit of a red herring, because we're not heading west towards the lakes now, we're going north up to Egton Bridge in North Yorkshire, because it was there in the year 1800 that a gooseberry society was formed to find out who could grow the biggest gooseberry locally. Well, that competition is still going on. It takes place on the first Tuesday in August every year, and the competition, well, it's as cutthroat as ever.
The first gooseberry shows took place in about the 1740s, and there were really the people who introduced them in the Manchester area were the weavers. Who all lived in sort of rows of cottages that had very small gardens, and gooseberries lent themselves to these small gardens, and gooseberry competitions sprang up all over, and it certainly was started in that era when the weavers were in business. And then of course the First World War was the demise of all gooseberry shows all over the country, because whole towns went to war, and the Industrial Revolution, and really after the First World War, from about 240 shows all over the country, they went down to about 12. And after the First World War, between the First World War and the Second World War, there's only 2 left in the country, almost disappeared, and there's us now at Egton Bridge and Cheadle down in Cheshire. I think it's the thrill of growing the biggest berry. Our show over the years hasn't altered at all. It's exactly the same format as it was 200 years ago. It was started in 1800, was the Egton Bridge Gooseberry Show. We have no records earlier than that, and I think it's the old world atmosphere of the show that attracts people. Everything in this modern world is moving so fast, and when they come to Egton Bridge for the Gooseberry Show, I think it's just as though time has stood still. There's a lot of real old-fashioned rules, you know, that the committee have the right to come and inspect your berries at any time to see whether you're not fiddling or anything. And if you move, you've got to dig your trees up with a committee member as a witness to see you dig them up and plant them in your new property. Always the first Tuesday in August. The procession starts about 8 o'clock. We start weighing about 8:30. It's open to the public from 2, and then at 6 o'clock, 6:30, the band arrives. Stape original band. So they're straight out the fields and the cowshed. Some of them hardly had time to get shaved and ready, but they're all sort of farming people, is the original band, and plays in the schoolyard while then we draw the raffle. Then it goes and plays at the post gate or over at the horseshoe. Well, there's the heaviest berry, which is the ultimate prize in the whole show, whether it's a yellow, red, green or white. And then you have the second heaviest, and then you have the heaviest twins, heaviest 6, heaviest 12, heaviest 6, best beaten berry. There's quite a lot of categories. Egg boxes are a very popular means of carrying them, but as I say, a lot of the very keen members have their own boxes, and they come out each year, you know. They're a bit of a drawback is a box, because if you haven't got very big berries and you bring this box in and you throw the lid up and they're only small berries, it's a bit of an anticlimax. If you bring them in an egg box, at least people can see they aren't very good. Some people pick their berries on the morning of the show. Some people don't believe in picking them beforehand too long because they'll lose weight, or you know, there's all sorts of sort of old fables about it. But if you have a very wet time or a very hot time, you know. It's never right for gooseberry growers. There's always some foul pest, wasps attacking them. We've had excuses of mice eating them, badgers coming into the pen and getting them. If they don't win, everybody has an excuse as to why they haven't won. We have about, I think over 100 members, and I think there's about 80 or 90 people show, actually. I think we had about 90 plates of berries on the tables last year. The people who, from the shows down at Cheshire, we have a man comes up from Norwich, Hull, Birmingham, all over the place. We weigh in ounces, drams and grains, and the scales that we have, they were bought in 1938, salter scales they are, oil damped, and they'll weigh a feather. So, you know, some of the berries are very close, you know, so, but the scales are very accurate. And the weighing is, there's two weighmen at one side of the weigh, and then there's two judges at this side of the weigh, and the berries are put onto the weigh and the weighed, and that is the you can't fiddle or anything. It's not shape, colour, form, it's simply weight, and the scales never lie. The world record this last year, 2009, Brian Nellis with 25 drams, which is just over 2 ounces, isn't it? 16 drams to an ounce, so it's over 2 ounces, and that was a world record. And so it's rather fitting that it should come to the village where the show is held. Woodpecker is a very good variety. It wins constantly every year, but you can have a dozen woodpecker bushes, but only one woodpecker bush will produce big berries. It seems to be in the genes. So you're constantly pruning out the bushes that don't grow big berries and replacing them with the bushes that you've got off a member of the club who thinks that will grow big berries. So it's a constant battle changing the bushes round. They want plenty of moisture in the early stages when they're small berries. They want to be very wet and swell them, you see. And a dry season, if they don't swell, and you want sun to ripen them, because a green berry, if it's the day of the show and you have a big berry and it's green, it isn't juicy inside, it's just solid, it won't weigh. A berry to weigh has to be absolutely full of liquid, and the only way you get one like that is ripened by the sun. Of course, when they're at that stage, they're very prone to burst, but that's how the heaviest berries are the ones that are full of juice. If you have a berry with seeds in, and then a berry of the same size fully ripe and full of juice, it'll beat the one with the seeds in, hands down, every time. We have, at the end of the show, a lot of the berries are given away. A lot of people make wine with them. I don't know whether anybody actually eats them, because, you know, probably they're very suspicious of what they've been fed on. Stories of dead pigs and all sorts being buried in the pen to try and feed them. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. Sheep droppings is a favourite thing in a barrel, a bag of sheep droppings, and then it's watered down to the colour of weak tea and fed with that. That's a very old feed, is that. But the strange thing is, the berries aren't a lot heavier now than they were 200 years ago, in spite of all the modern fertilizers and things that are on the market now. I mean, there wouldn't be any fertilizers at all 200 years ago, only the basic ones, wouldn't there? Yeah, probably good plenty of good supply of horse manure in those days, you see, which is in shorter supply now. Even cow manure, well rotted, is in short supply, and that's what they want, plenty of good muck. There's two classes, you see, maidens and growers. And the maiden class is people who've never won a major prize before, and the growers. Well, once you win a major prize in the maidens, you move up into the growers. And I moved up into the growers about 25 years ago, and they've done any good since. My day will come. My day will come.
That one here. Oh, yes. If you can come to me, I have to stop here all day.
So how long have we been growing gooseberries?
How long have I been growing them? 7 years, but I've only been showing them for 3.
And what got you into that then?
Because my wife was doing it and I had to beat her, but I haven't beat her yet.
So do you grow them in the same patch as ground then, or?
No. In the next we have 2 separate pens. You aren't allowed to grow them all in one and share them. You only have your own pens and your own bushes in. I've got 4 bushes left in mine this time because I had 17 and they've rotted off with wet. It's too wet at spring where I have them. So they've never been touched them since April.
But you're quite pleased with them, how big they've grown?
Well, I wasn't going to fetch any. The only reason I fetched them, I thought it's a bad year, there might not be many in. I didn't think I'd win outright, but just come to keep the show going.
So all these white gooseberries, or they yellow gooseberries, all?
There's all different colours. There's reds, greens, yellows, and white.
So how can you tell the difference between the...
Well, that one is a white one. That one is a yellow one, and that one is a red one. And I haven't got a green one. Yeah.
Does that make a difference, really, what
They're all
the
different.
weight of them, whether they're different colours?
They're all different varieties. In some years it could be a white that wins, and another year it could be a yellow that wins. But more often than not, it's a yellow one that wins the show. It's surprising how they look big till you get them on scales, isn't it? Yeah.
So do you live round here?
About 10 mile away, Staines. There isn't many locals now, is there?
Well, we're Gooseberry, and this lad's from Hornsey.
A couple of good ones then, aren't there? There's a fella down here said his berries were as good as yours a week since.
Well, he told me that when I was out in the yard, but then he said he would swap me. So I thought, well, I've got the best. I thought he was just going to share.
They're good twins.
You must have pumped the buggers up since last week.